This is the Skoda Karoq, a smart SUV for buyers who are looking for a small exterior package but big interior practicality. There's a few different versions of this SUV, including this one here, the new one, which is below $40,000 drive away, and it comes with long warranty coverage. So stay tuned, there's a lot to cover, and if you've already subscribed, thanks very much. Let's get to it. There are now 3 models in the Skoda Karoq range and a starting price below $40,000 drive away, which it wasn't before. It was a bit more expensive previously, but now there's this one here, the entry-level version. It's just called Karoq. It's $39,990 drive away, and you do get a heap of features for your money, including LED lights, LED daytime running lights, LED fog lights. You've also got dynamic indicators at the back, which are pretty cool. You get roof rails, you also get 18-inch alloy wheels. Now on the inside, you've got an 8-inch touchscreen media system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You also get an 8-inch digital driver display as well, cloth trim and manual seat adjustment. So it's not necessarily super duper plush feeling, but you are getting a heap of really good features for the money. And hey, speaking of money, if you are wondering about what this car might cost on a weekly basis, let's say, you can always go to the Skoda website and check out their weekly calculator. So you can set your own terms of, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it may be, how much your deposit is, all those things. I usually just talk in drive away prices or list prices, but hey, if you want to know how many cups of coffee you might need to sacrifice to step up to the next grade, that's where you can do it. And speaking of stepping up to the next grade, it's called the Style. It's $45,490 drive away. You do get a few extra features. You still get the same powertrain, but you get things like a digital instrument display that's a little bit bigger and a few other features on the inside, an alarm as well. So that might make sense to you, but this one seems like really good value unless you're after the sporty one. It's called the Sport line. It gets a more powerful, bigger engine. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a sec. It's also got all-wheel drive too, and it gets a sportier look on the outside, a rear spoiler, you get bigger wheels, and on the inside you get a sports interior finish as well. So look, all the sports, and the Sportline one seems to make sense if you're a bit of an enthusiast. But what about alternatives to this? Let's go through them now. Okay, when it comes to alternatives to the Skoda Karoq, if you go by the fact that this is classified as a medium SUV and you're looking at some similarly priced rivals, then you could be looking at a Toyota RAV4 or something like that. But I've got a couple of options that I think you really should be checking out that are sort of smaller, but also offer plenty of value. Firstly, I reckon you should go and have a look at the Honda ZR-V. Now that is a slightly smaller SUV than some of those other mid-size models, but it does have a fair amount of practicality on its side, and also it has hybrid available, unlike this car. So it's got a couple of turbo options and a top spec hybrid as well. So it might be right for you if you are looking to electrify your motoring for 2024 and beyond, but it also might not be right for you depending on whether you like the styling or not. I'm not totally sold on the styling, but hey, everyone has their own take on things. Another one that you might want to check out is the Hyundai Kona. The new generation model is bigger than before. It's still not massive, and it doesn't have quite as much boot space because it's not quite as boxy as this car, but it also has a bunch of different powertrain options available. Petrol, hybrid, and also full EV. So there's an extensive range of models to be had in the Hyundai Kona lineup, and I think it could be a really good choice for you if you can put up with some of those really annoying safety systems that it has, because geez, they shit me. All right, what about the Subaru Forester? Look, it's a little bit bigger nose to tail, but it's also got the boxy body thing going on, so it does have huge practicality on offer, all-wheel drive as standard, and there's a hybrid model as well. I wouldn't necessarily recommend the hybrid because I don't think it's as good as the petrol models, and there's an all-new model coming soon, but it still offers huge value in my opinion. So which one would you pick, or would you choose something different? Let me know in the comments. This car is very cleverly packaged. It is only 4.4 meters or thereabouts from nose to tail. So that means it has a significant size advantage if you are looking for something that is a bit more compact and yet offers plenty of size on the inside. I'll show you the back seat and front seats shortly, but you also need to know it gets 18-inch alloy wheels as standard. Those are aerodynamic covers on the wheels, and you also get a full-size spare wheel in the boot. Now, let's let's have a look at the boot because it is absolutely massive. 521 litres of cargo capacity. You can see for yourself, it's a deep and boxy space, and that means that it is very practicality focused. You get a few features in the back, like these shopping bag hooks. You also get remote releases for the seat backs in front. And as I said, underneath there, a full-size steel spare wheel. A couple of other little extras around the edges of the boot for extra practicality, but hey, you don't get those nets that you do get in some of the more expensive models, but even so, that is a super practical space. It's going to be able to fit a pram, some luggage, and maybe even your shopping as well. Very impressive. The Skoda Karoq interior is very spacious feeling. The thing that makes it so spacious feeling, you've got lots of headroom. So it is a boxy body and there's plenty of space in the front of this car, and it feels pretty premium as well. Remember, this car is the base model at 40 grand drive away, but you still get some really great features, including this 8-inch touchscreen media system. Yes, you can get bigger ones in the upper grades, but I actually like this one because you've still got knobs and dials to adjust things, and there's buttons down the side as well if you want to make changes to your menus or go to your phone settings or whatever it may be. You've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well. No sat-nav in this grade, but really, I don't know, I never use sat-nav anymore. I always use one of the map apps on my phone. Now, thankfully, there's still buttons down below and dials as well for your climate control. I love that those still exist in this car, and there's plenty of storage too. So you've got a little storage section in here in front of the shifter, a couple of USB-C ports down there as well. You've got a covered center console area as well in here with this really, really clever little section here. So you can make it an extra shelf, or you can flip it over and get cup holders of a sort. They're not really cup holders. Most cups might not necessarily fit in there very well. Actually, I'm just going to put it back in that way because I think that looks better. All right, so that's really smart. You've also got big bottle holders in the doors with a little elastic thing to hold things in place. They're not lined though, so things can still rattle around a little bit. You've got a glove box here, which is a decent size, and up on top of the dash, there's another little storage cubby, which is lined. So I don't know, you could hide lollies or something in there? I don't know, you tell me in the comments. You've also got a digital instrument cluster, as I've said. Pretty logical controls on the steering wheel. They're actual buttons and dials, so they're not like some of the other Skoda or Volkswagen Group products with the haptic buttons. And there's a little cruise control stalk down here as well. All told, pretty nice cabin experience for the base model. So let's check out the back row and see what it's like. Now, the back seat, it is quite an experience. This is a very roomy second row space. For a car that's only about 4.4 meters long, it makes some of the small SUVs feel very small. This one does feel like medium SUV space on offer. So this seat is set for my driving position at 182 centimeters or 6 foot. I've got plenty of knee room, lots and lots of foot room. I mean, I could have a jumping party or something down there. Lots of headroom just like up front, and you do get great amenities in the back as well, including directional air vents, map pockets. There's a flip down armrest with some cup holders as well, and this also turns into a ski port. You don't get that in many other $40,000 cars. In fact, I don't know if you get it in any other $40,000 cars. But you need to know this about the Karoq. This base model car doesn't get the VarioFlex seating. So I'll show you some footage now of what that VarioFlex seating is. You can remove the 3 individual seats from the back if you need to, but for most people, you're not actually going to do that often. And if you are, well, spending up a little bit more to get into the mid-spec style grade might actually make sense for you anyway. You've also got bottle holders in the doors, so like, honestly, there's a lot to like when it comes to the backseat experience here. Under the bonnet of the entry-level Karoq and the style mid-spec model is a 1.4 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. It comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Unlike some of the other Skoda and Volkswagen Group products, it's not a dual clutch, and that's a bit different. I'll tell you why that's good or why it might not be in the driving section, and these grades are front-wheel drive. But if you want all-wheel drive, you want more power and torque, you need to go for the Sportline grade. It gets a 2 litre turbo petrol with with a dual clutch automatic transmission and all-wheel drive, and it is a far more enticing car for those who like to drive a little bit faster. Hey, speaking of driving, let's go. Righto, so what's the Skoda Karoq like to drive? Well, it really depends on which version you're buying. If you're buying one of the entry 2 versions, they're going to be pretty similar in terms of the drive experience. But if you want to get the sportiest experience you can, you have to buy the Sport line. That 2-litre turbo with all-wheel drive really does make for a more enticing drive experience. Not to say that the entry-level versions aren't very good, not in any way. I think they're actually pretty good all round, but I think that if you do have an enthusiast bone in your body, sorry if that sounded weird, then you should be checking out the Sportline version because it's certainly a bit more enticing for those who have fuel running through their veins, let's say. But otherwise, this 1.4 litre engine and this 8-speed automatic transmission work together very well in the entry-level version and the style grade. In fact, it's a pretty smooth drive experience. It's not quite as decisive or precise with its gear shifts as the 2-litre with the dual clutch automatic is, or as some other Skoda products are. But for the most part, it's pretty nice to drive. It has easily enough grunt for the day-to-day duties that you will expect to be doing in a car like this. And look, it's certainly got lots of torque, and torque is effortlessness. And that's what works best in this car. It does have effortless pulling power, and yes, the 8-speed automatic can be a little bit busy at times, particularly if you're climbing longer hills. You'll find that it can shift gears a little bit more regularly than you might expect it to, especially if you're coming from a DSG equipped version of a Skoda or a Volkswagen product. Then it might be a little bit different of a drive experience for you. But I have to say, for the most part, around town and even at higher speeds, it is a pretty sweet powertrain combo. So what about other elements of the drive experience? Well, today on this launch event for this entry-level version of the Karoq, I've done quite a bit of driving in mixed scenarios, and I found this car to be actually pretty good at the day-to-day stuff, and maybe not as enticing as the 2-litre Sportline version would be in terms of wow factor. But again, it's not supposed to be a wow factor car. It's supposed to be a very livable and likable, easy to drive car, and for most people it's going to be exactly that. The steering isn't numb like some other cars in this segment. In fact, it's quite direct and quite accurate, and you do get a little bit of feel through the steering wheel as well. And also, I think that the ride comfort, well, it's definitely on the comfort side of things. So it does have a bit of a softer ride than some other products in the Skoda range, and it does definitely feel well suited to the day-to-day drudgery of running around the suburbs or just doing highway running. But it's also pretty good through corners. This car is also very easy to see out of, so that helps with your visibility when parking and when reversing as well. And there's also a reversing camera and front rear parking sensors standard with this car too. And in terms of refinement, look, it's mostly pretty good. There is a little bit of road roar that comes into the cabin from around the wheel arches at times, particularly on rough road surfaces, coarse chip for instance. But even Skoda itself admits that this version of the Karoq is a little bit quieter than the other ones because it doesn't have the VarioFlex seating, so that removable seating in the second row. Instead, it's a single piece cushion, which does make for a slightly more hushed ride and a slightly more hushed drive experience more generally. And look, I think for people who are looking for a comfortable and also pretty enjoyable drive experience, then this version of the Karoq would do the trick. And if you want something a bit more sprightly and fun, then the Sportline could also do it for you as well. All right, let's talk about fuel efficiency for the Skoda Karoq lineup. There's not very much in it between the two different powertrain options. So the 1.4 litre engine with the 8-speed auto, you'll see the number on your screen now. That's the Karoq and the style version of this SUV. And now I'll put up the Sportline version. So that gets the bigger engine, much more power, more torque, and also all-wheel drive, and yet just a little bit more fuel consumption for that model. So look, I think that's pretty good. And if you're wondering what I've seen across this drive, well, it hasn't been my usual drive experience, but it's been a fun one. A lot of different scenarios encountered today and a bit of fun had as well. It's on your screen now, and I think that that is a pretty commendable result for a turbo petrol front wheel drive family SUV. The Skoda Karoq did have a 5-star ANCAP safety rating, but it's now expired. So if you need a safety rating for your car, this might not be right for you, but it does have a bunch of great safety technology fitted to this car from the base model up, including autonomous emergency braking, pedestrian detection, cyclist detection. There's also lane keeping assistance, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, a reversing camera, and parking sensors as well. So look, from the safety perspective, it seems to have all the tech. It's also got a fair few airbags fitted to this car as well. So I reckon it is pretty safe, even if it doesn't have a safety rating. Skoda Australia offers a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty. It's the only European brand in the country to offer that level of coverage. And there's also some really great elements to the ownership program. So you can prepay your servicing for 7 years and it'll save you hundreds of dollars if you do. You'll see the price on your screen now. That pack seems to make a lot of sense, especially if you think you might only hang on to your car for 5 years. Then you can hand it on to the next owner with 2 years of warranty and 2 years of cap price servicing already paid for, which adds to your resale value. Seems to stack up pretty well. You also get roadside assistance included for 7 years with this car as well. So really, there's no reason not to think that it's a good ownership prospect. So there you have it, the Skoda Karoq. I reckon that this car offers plenty of space, plenty of practicality, and still has a very compact exterior package. And I also think that the 7-year warranty does add some extra appeal for a European brand. Tell me what you think in the comments section below. Would you choose this car? I'd love to hear from you. And which spec would you choose in particular? Let me know and we'll have a conversation in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.